Hey y'all, now we're working on the lesson 3-5 review. This is a hint, hint, wink, wink review, so I would take good notes so that you can use this on your Savvas lesson quiz. Number 1, find the price of a $400 telescope after a 32% markup. Okay, so key information of a $400 telescope after a 32% markup. So let's solve this as a proportion, as we normally would. So let's represent 32% as a ratio. Well, that would simply be 32 over 100. And I want to set that equal to another ratio. Now, because it says of a $400 telescope, I'm going to put $400 on the bottom, and we're going to find what goes on top. So now we're ready to cross multiply. So I would multiply 100 times x together first, and that is simply 100x, and set that equal to the product of 32 times 400. Well, 32 times 400, when you type that into your calculator, you end up with 12,800. Now to get x by itself, I'm just going to divide by 100 on both sides. And when I do that, I find that x equals 128. But we're not done. That's just the amount that is added to the original price. So keep in mind, it's a markup. So we're going to add to the original price. So $400 plus the $128, that is the markup amount. When I add that together, I get $528. And that right there is our answer. Now, I do want to show you another way that you could do this exact same problem. So keep in mind that $400 would be the 100% value, okay? And we're marking it up 32%. So I could say that 100% plus 32% equals 132%, okay? Now I can use this 132% as my percent ratio. So how do I represent 132% as a ratio? Well, I would write it as 132 over 100. And I'd still set that equal to x over 400. And then I would cross multiply once again. So 100 times x, we know, is 100x. And set that equal to the product of 132 times 400. Well, when I put that into my calculator, 132 times 400, I end up with 52,800. So now I'm ready to get x by itself. To do that, I'm going to divide by 100 on both sides. And when I divide by 100, I find that x equals 528. And that right there is my answer, $528. So notice we still got the exact same answer. And I want to show you yet another way that I could do this exact same problem. But this time, I'm going to use a decimal version of this percentage. Okay, so how do I represent 132% as a decimal? Well, 132% has my decimal behind the 2. And to make that a decimal, I'm going to move that decimal point twice to the left. So it's going to go in between that 1 and that 3. So it's actually 1.32. And I can multiply that with my original price. So 1.32 times 400, if I put that into my calculator, I end up with 528, which you know by now is our selling price. So 3 ways that you can do the same problem. Okay, moving on to number 2. A $450 suit is marked down by 20%. Find the sale price, and it does tell us to round to the nearest dollar as needed. So let's start with the way that you would probably start by solving this. It's marked down by 20%. So let's figure out what 20% is. So 20% as a ratio is just 20 over 100. And I want to set that equal to a second ratio. But where does the $450 go? Well, think of it as 20% of $450. So $450 goes on the bottom and X goes on the top. And now I'm ready to cross multiply. So multiply 100 times X together first, which is 100X, and set that equal to the product of 20 times 450. Well, 20 times 450 is going to be 9,000. So now to get X by itself, we're going to divide by 100 on both sides. And X equals 90. But we're not done. That's just the markdown amount. So markdown means that things are reduced by a certain percentage. So because it's a markdown, I'm going to subtract the total minus the markdown amount, and that's going to give me my selling price. So we had $450 minus $90, and that's going to give us our selling price of $360, which is our answer. Okay, but I do want to show you another way that you could do this exact same problem. I think you know where this is headed by now. So let's consider that $450 is 100% of the cost of the suit, but it's marked down by 20%. So could I say 100% minus 20% equals 80%? I sure could. So I could focus on this 80% and think of it as, well, how much am I going to pay? What percentage am I going to pay as the customer? So I'm going to pay for 80%. So how do I represent 80% as a ratio? Well, that's simply 80 over 100. And I set that equal to X over 450. And now I can cross multiply. So 100 times X, we know, is 100X. And if I were to multiply 80 times 450 together, I would end up with 36,000. Now, to get X by itself, we divide by 100 on both sides. And so we know that X equals $360. I'm going to write that where I have a little bit more room. So X equals $360. Okay, one more way that we can do it is still focusing on this 80%. I can make that a decimal. So, 80% written as a decimal. I'm just going to move that decimal once, twice to the left. So it's going to be 0.8. So 0.8 or even 0.80. It doesn't really matter how you write it. And I'm going to multiply that with the cost of the suit, which was $450. 0.80 times 450, if you put that into your calculator, you are going to get 360. And that right there is your answer. So 3 ways to do the exact same problem. Okay, now let's look at number 3. A laptop was originally sold for $1,075. The laptop is now on sale for $806.25. What is the percent markdown? Okay, so important information here. What is the percent markdown? When you see a question asking what is the percent or find the percent, whatever the phrase is, but you're having to find the percent, we can use the percent change formula. So that's what we're going to use here. So remember, the percent change formula is new minus old or minus the original, all over the old or the original amount. So this right here is what we're using. So we've got 2 values to focus on, and our 2 values are $1,075 and $806.25. So which one is the old value and which one is the new value? Well, hopefully you can identify that $1,075 is the old, and that means that our new is $806.25. So now that we've established that, we are ready to use our formula. So let's start with the new value, $806.25 minus the original $1,075. And let's divide that all by the original $1,075. So now we're ready to simplify. So in my calculator, I'm going to type 806.25 and subtract 1,075 from that. And when I do that, I end up with negative 268.75. And I'm going to divide that by 1,075. So when I put that into my calculator, I end up with negative 0.25. Now here's the deal. That negative just reminds me that it was a percent decrease, or it was a mark down. So I don't really need to include that negative in my answer, but I do need to change this from a decimal to a percent. So to do that, I multiply times 100, or I move that decimal once, twice to the right. So my answer is 25%. So all I would have to type in to Savvis is 25, because that percent sign will be given to me in the program. Okay, moving on to number 4. Danny buys t-shirts for $14 each and marks up the price by 35%. How much profit does Danny make from each t-shirt sold? So let's focus on the fact that the t-shirts are $14 each and he marks them up by 35%. Well, how do I represent 35% as a ratio? 35 over 100. So 35 over 100. And I want to set that equal to a second ratio. Where do you think that 14 should go? Well, don't we want to find 35% of 14? Because that will tell us how much money he earns extra above the $14. Yeah, so we want to find x over 14. So now I'm ready to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply together 100 times x first, which is simply 100x. And I'm going to set that equal to the product of 35 and 14. Now 35 times 14, if I put that into my calculator, I end up with 490. So 100x equals 490. Now to get x by itself, I'm going to divide by 100 on both sides. So x equals 4.9. Or because we're talking about money, $4.90. And that actually is my answer. So he's earning that profit. Remember, he had to pay $14 for each shirt, and he marks them up the amount that he's earning in profit. So our answer is $4.90. Number 5, a toy shop purchases 145 identical stuffed animals for a total cost of $507.50 and sells them for $9.45 each. What is the percent markup? Okay, so we've got a couple of pieces of information here that are key. So some key pieces of information. They buy 145 stuffed animals and they pay a total of $507.50 for all of those. So I need to know how much they pay for each one. So in order for me to figure out the price per stuffed animal, I'm going to take the total amount that they spent, and they spent $507.50, and I'm going to divide it by the number of stuffed animals that they purchased. And they purchased 145 stuffed animals. So when I put that into my calculator, 507.50 divided by 145, I get 3.5, but we're talking about money. So that means that each stuffed animal was $3.50. Okay, so now this $3.50 is really important information for me going forward in this problem. Okay, because we're trying to figure out what is the percent markup. So again, what is the percent? That means we're using our percent change formula. I'm using this formula right here. So I need to figure out what is my new value and what is my old value. Well, they're selling each of these stuffed animals for $9.45. So that means that my new value is $9.45, but my old value, the original value, what they paid for them, was $3.50. So now that I've established that, I'm ready to solve my problem. So we start with the new. So new minus old divided by old. And now I'm ready to simplify. $9.45 minus $3.50 is $5.95. And I'm going to divide that by $3.50. So 5.95 divided by 3.50. When I put that into my calculator, I end up with 1.7. Now, that's a decimal, but I need to make it a percent. So to make that decimal a percent, I'm going to move the decimal point once, twice to the right. Well, what am I going to do with that empty space right there? I'm going to fill it in with a 0. Oops. With a 0. It's still not making a 0 for me, is it? Nope. I don't know what's happening there, y'all. Sorry. Fill it in with a 0. So what is my percent? It's 170% is the markup. The markup is 170%. Okay. Moving on to number 6. This is probably the most challenging one here. A boombox is on sale for 30% off the original price of $110. If there is a 5.5% sales tax, what is the final price of the boombox? Okay, so let's focus first on the sale. Okay, so we know some key pieces of information. The price of the boombox is $110, and it is 30% off. So let's start by representing 30% as a ratio. Well, that would be 30 over 100. And I want to write that so it's equal to another ratio. But where does the X go and where does 110 go? Because it says of $110, that's my whole amount. I'm going to put 110 on the bottom, and that means I'm going to put X on the top. So now I'm ready to cross multiply. So 100 times X is simply 100X. And I want to set that equal to 30 times 110. And 30 times 110, if you put that in your calculator, you're going to end up with 3,300. Now to get X by itself, we're going to divide by 100 on both sides. So X equals 33. Oops. 33. But we're not done, okay? That's just the amount of money that's saved because you bought this boombox on sale. So what is the selling price of the boombox? Well, to figure that out, I'm going to take the $110 and I'm going to subtract the $33 that we're saving. And I know that 110 minus 33 is going to be 77. So this right here is important because that right there is the selling price. Now, the tax is based on the selling price. So now I have to figure out the tax. So we know that there is a 5.5% sales tax that needs to be calculated and then added to the selling price. And that's going to tell me how much money I'm actually going to pay at the store. So 5.5%, how do I represent that as a ratio? Well, 5.5 over 100. So 5.5 over 100 equals a second ratio. Now, remember, the sales tax is based on the selling price, and we already established that the selling price was $77. So I need to put an X in here, and I need to put a 77. The 77 is my whole amount right now. So that goes on the bottom, and we're trying to figure out the part on the top. So now I'm ready to cross multiply. 100 times X is 100X. And set that equal to the product of 5.5 times 77. Well, 5.5 times 77, when you put that into your calculator, you end up with 423.5. Now, to get X by itself, I'm going to divide by 100 on both sides. So X equals 4.235. But what do we know about money? We know that money cuts off after the second decimal place. So behind that 3. However, we've got a 5 right here. So what do I need to do with that 3? That's right, I'm going to round it up. So that is now going to be $4.24 in sales tax. So what do I want to do with these two values that I've circled? I want to add them together. So we have $77 plus $4.24. What is our final price going to be? It's going to be $81.24. And that right there is my answer. So that is the end of our 3-5 review. You've got your Savvas lesson quiz to work on now.